Hi, my name is Artrice Brown, and today I'll be presenting on the life of Harry Stack Sullivan and how certain events influenced the evolution of his theories. A little about who Harry Stack Sullivan is. He was an American psychiatrist best known for developing interpersonal psychoanalysis, which is a theory that emphasized the central role of relationships and social interactions in shaping personality and mental health. Unlike traditional Freudian psychoanalysis, which focused on internal drives and unconscious conflicts, Sullivan proposed that personality is primarily a product of one's interactions with others, especially during key developmental stages. He believed that mental illnesses, including schizophrenia, could be understood through the lens of disrupted or maladaptive social relationships rather than just internal conflicts. A couple more things about him that won't be expounded upon in the presentation is that Harry Stack never married and was believed to have lived a celibate life. His personal life and relationships remain somewhat ambiguous, though there is speculation that Sullivan had a long-term relationship with James Inskill. James was known to Sullivan's associate as his adopted son, which allowed Sullivan to keep his sexuality in the closet. A little bit about his early life and early education. Um, Stack was born February 21st, 1892 in Norwich, New York. He was born into an Irish American family and grew up in a small, isolated, but close-knit community. Growing up in isolation and experiencing limited interaction with his peers is said to have made Sullivan develop an awareness of interpersonal relationships and the impact of social exclusion. Now, at the age of 17, he attended Cornell University very briefly, and it exposed him to a economic, what? Broader academic environment. He left Cornell after only a short time, though, likely after his first year, due to a psychotic break in academic difficulties. This setback has influenced his later emphasis on the social aspects of recovery and support systems. Sullivan's initial struggle with mental and physical health as a young adult may have made him more attuned to the mental health challenges faced by others, especially those stemming from social and environmental factors. His later theories would focus on how social support and interactions play vital roles in mental health. 1914 to 1918 was World War One. Now, World War One was a global conflict primarily involving European powers that resulted in massive casualties and devastation. It also set the geopolitical tension that would contribute to the beginning of World War Two. Now, World War One exposed many to the psychological effects of combat and introduced people to the concept of shell shock, which is now understood today as PTSD. This time of war influenced Sullivan's understanding of trauma, and he applied its effects in his theories. 1917, Sullivan received formal medical training at Chicago College of Medicine and Surgery, which equipped him with the knowledge to practice psychiatry. Oh, damn. Oh, I forgot to mention. Damn, 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 damn. Girl, you gotta start over for real. It's okay. It's okay, boo. You did really good. I don't know if I know how to clip. Okay. 1914 to 1918 was World War One. Now, World War One was a global conflict primarily involving European powers that resulted in massive casualties and devastation. It set the geopolitical tensions that would contribute to the beginning of World War Two. World War One exposed many to the psychological effects of combat and introduced people to the concept of shell shock, which is just now understood today as PTSD. This time of war influenced Sullivan's understanding of trauma, and he applied its effects in his theories. Another world event worth mentioning, though, is the influenza pandemic of 1918. Right after World War One, the influenza pandemic spread globally, affecting millions. The widespread trauma and social isolation associated with the pandemic stressed the importance of interpersonal support in times of crisis, aligning with Sullivan's focus on social factors and mental health. 1917, Sullivan received formal medical training at Chicago College of Medicine and Surgery. It equipped him with the knowledge to practice psychiatry. His interests would go beyond medicine, though, and he'd focus instead on social and relational aspects of mental health. His exposure, though, to Freudian ideas during this medical training set a foundation for his theories. He found Freudian's emphasis on internal drive insufficient in explaining the importance of relationships and mental health. His education was the beginning of his psychiatric career and his desire to push beyond the psychoanalytic theories that were gaining traction at the time. A little bit more about his education and experience. So in 1921, Sullivan began working at Shepherd and Enoch Pratt Hospital. Shepherd Pratt was a hospital founded in 1891 in Towson, Maryland, and was known for an innovative and progressive approach, offering a therapeutic environment that emphasized patient dignity and well-being. This institution played a significant role in Harry Stack Sullivan's career, and it was here that Sullivan worked extensively with schizophrenic patients, leading to his groundbreaking insights into the role of social and interpersonal factors in mental health. Here, Sullivan observed how social relationships influence schizophrenic symptoms, leading him to challenge the Freudian notion that mental illness was purely intrapsychic. Sullivan began to theorize that interpersonal relationships were central to both the manifestation and treatment of schizophrenia and other mental illnesses. This work led him to argue that mental health could not be fully understood without considering social context, relationships, and the role of external support, marking a pivotal moment in the development of his interpersonal theory. Another world event that had significant impacts on his work was the Great Depression from 1929 to 1939. During this period of great economic hardship, Sullivan saw firsthand how social and economic conditions impacted mental health. As poverty, unemployment, and displacement increased, so did anxiety, depression, and social isolation among individuals and communities. This era reinforced Sullivan's belief that social environment and economic stability are integral to psychological well-being. It was emphasized to Sullivan the importance of addressing environmental stressors in psychiatric treatment, which shaped his interpersonal approach to understanding and treating mental health conditions. A little bit more about his work and publications. Sullivan taught for a short time at Georgetown University's medical school, and in 1933, he helped to found the William Allinson White Psychiatric Foundation. In 1936, he helped establish the Washington School of Psychiatry, where he remained until 1947. Heading the Washington School of Psychiatry was a major milestone for Sullivan, as it connected him with other progressive thinkers who questioned Freudian ideas. This intellectual community emphasized a more social and contextual approach to psychology, which resonated with Sullivan's observation from his clinical work. In this environment, he refined his interpersonal theory, developing concepts that emphasize the importance of social connections and interactions over internal drives. This affiliation marked a pivotal shift in his career. In 1940, he published Concepts of Modern Psychiatry, which formally presented his interpersonal theory to a psychiatric community, positioning him as a leading figure in a movement that challenged traditional psychoanalysis. As stated before, Sullivan argued that personality is shaped by interpersonal relationships rather than solely by internal psychic conflicts. This work was groundbreaking. Then there was World War II and post-war adjustments. World War II lasted from 1939 to 1945, and during World War II, Sullivan was actively involved in psychiatric efforts for soldiers, including developing mental health programs for veterans experiencing war-related stress and trauma. His involvement reinforced his belief in the importance of interpersonal relationships and coping with stress and trauma. Sullivan was able to observe that soldiers with strong social support networks recovered more quickly and effectively, emphasizing the need for relational connections in traumatic times. Post-war was filled with social reintegration for both veterans and civilians. So Sullivan's theories on interpersonal relationships and social connections gained new relevance as individuals and communities sought to rebuild relationships and adjust to peacetime life. The war's aftermath illustrated the importance of social reintegration and mental health recovery, validating Sullivan's interpersonal focus. The societal need for connection and support during this time helped encourage acceptance of Sullivan's ideas within the psychiatric community. Sullivan was also involved with UNESCO after World War II, working to lessen international tension. And in 1948, he was involved in founding the World Federation for Mental Health, which for many years was led mainly by psychiatrists focused on social, peace-related, and human rights issues. Now, the last stretch of his life. In 1947, he also published the Psychiatry Journal of Interpersonal Relationships, which promoted his groundbreaking approach to mental health, focusing on interpersonal relationships rather than Freudian intrapsychic conflicts. The journal emphasized that social interactions and relationships are crucial to understanding and treating mental health conditions. It provided an interdisciplinary platform for psychologists, sociologists, and anthropologists to explore how social dynamics, community factors, and therapeutic relationships influence mental health. Sullivan's journal laid the foundation for relational and interpersonal therapy approaches influencing psychiatry beyond his lifetime. Founding the Psychiatry Journal allowed Sullivan to reach a wider audience and share his theories with other mental health professionals. Sadly, January 14th of 1949, Haystack Sullivan would die in Paris, France, while attending an international psychiatry conference. The cause of death was a cerebral hemorrhage. Sullivan's theories on interpersonal relationship have continued to influence therapeutic practices and provide a framework for therapists. His ideas continue to shape the mental health field with his emphasis on understanding individuals and their social context. Last thoughts and kind of a conclusion to this presentation. Harry Stack Sullivan's life experience and significant world events greatly shaped his development of interpersonal theory. Growing up in a rural, somewhat isolated environment, Sullivan became highly sensitive to the impact of social relationships on mental health, which later influenced his clinical focus. His work with schizophrenic patients at Shepherd Pratt Hospital led him to observe that mental health issues were often rooted in disruptive interpersonal dynamics rather than internal conflicts, challenging the prevailing Freudian model. Additionally, witnessing the psychological impact of World War I, the Great Depression, and World War II highlighted for Sullivan the importance of social support and environmental stressors on mental health. Sullivan's unique contribution to psychiatry was his shift from Freudian intrapsychic focus to intrapsychic focus to a model that placed interpersonal relationships at the heart of mental well-being. He argued that personality and mental health are shaped by social interactions, especially during formative life stages, making human connections central to understanding and treating mental illness. His theory provided an alternative path in psychiatry, laying the groundwork for interpersonal therapy and influencing the field's focus on relational and social factors in mental health care. Ooh. Here are my references for this project, and thank you so much for listening.